Hello everyone, I'm Lisanne Miller with W, Cushing and Company, and happy 2021. Today we're going to go over how to hook silhouettes. In your latest rug hooking magazine, great issue with the fox on the cover, this is the January-February 2021 issue. You will see on page 30 there is a article on how to hook silhouettes. And as promised in the article, today we'll go over how to hook it. This is great information, great ways to hook, a lot of demonstrations. And the pattern that we used for the silhouettes was called Seasons. Seasons is an 18 by 18 pillow. So, first thing we're going to go over is not how to hook the silhouettes, but different color plans for the silhouettes, and then we'll be able to hook the silhouettes. So, for a silhouette, when you use a silhouette or you want to hook a silhouette, to emulate a paper cut silhouette, you have to give it a beveled edge. And the silhouettes are normally done in dark, but you don't have to use flat black. So, here we have some of the examples that we could use for silhouettes. My favorite is Everything But the Kitchen Sink, because you get motion, it's dark, and then when you put your other colors to it, it highlights the colors that are in there. And this is the wool that I will be using for my silhouette. Another great wool is After Midnight. It is a dark blue for the silhouette, but if you're going to use a lighter blue sky, it will really make it pop. Now, Inky is another great black. And it's not a solid black. As you can see, it's got little highlights of color, so it doesn't make it flat. And you can mix all of these together in your silhouette, but if you just want to choose one, you have to choose the one that's right for you. This is flat black. It will have less motion and will make the silhouette more defined. Now, silhouettes don't just have to be black. You could go with our darkest brown right here as a silhouette if you wanted a warmer, especially if you're doing a harvest moon. This dark brown would work very well for a silhouette. Or if purple's your color, lavender craze would work. It does have other motion colors in it, but this would also work for a silhouette. This, while most people may pick granite as a background, this would also work for a silhouette, but it would not be as defined. This would also make a very good moon if you didn't want to use it for a silhouette. Vintage blue is a solid blue. That would work if you did not want to use black. And amethyst would also work if you wanted a lighter silhouette. If you were doing a silhouette of a little girl, you might want purple, or when you learn how to do the silhouette, you could put lavender craze and amethyst together. So they are the color combinations for our silhouette. But the silhouette isn't the only component of this. We got to go to the moon. And everybody thinks that the moon has to be dyed wool, and we'll go through the choices, but there is some textured wool that will go for the moon. Lights and shadows would work perfectly for the moon. It would give you the motion and emulate a dyed wool, but it is a texture. Ash, depending upon what you put around it, ash would make a nice moon with a sort of Loden green tint. If you want a Halloween moon, margarita mix always works well for a Halloween moon, or just a white moon, old white works perfectly. So if we were going to pick a silhouette out of a texture, I would pick this for my silhouette, just say as one combination, and then I might want my moon to be here, which is a little bit darker, or here, which is a little bit lighter. So we'll start to build different colors in a second. Next is dyed wools for the moon. Moons don't have to be white. If you wanted a harvest moon, pebbles would work very well. It has the motion, it will hook nicely. A lavender moon, if you were doing dark purples for your silhouette, cotton candy would work because it has all the other colors in it. If you wanted a true harvest moon, full moon, Marigold Magic. Lake Shadows is a favorite for the moon, and for those that dye, this is in our dye book from Rug Hooking Magazine, beautiful wool. And Lake Shadows makes a very nice moon, especially with a very dark silhouette. Has just those little hints of color that come out. Again, a very pastel moon would be Storybook Snow. And a yellowish moon would be the Amari Gold, #1, also in the beautiful wool book published by Rug Hooking Magazine. So for a dyed, if I wanted to pick a dyed moon and go with a dyed silhouette, Granite and Lake Shadow would look very nice together. Now, let's talk about the background. Because with the background, first we can do textures, and it can be blue, it can be anything you like, but I've picked some blue. I've picked the Prep School Plaid, and with this plaid being so close together, when you hook it, it hooks like a dyed wool, or Vintage Blue for a deeper blue, or Cloud 9. In dyed wools for the background, it's endless. This is Kaleidoscope, would work very well, especially if you had Granite and Lake Shadow. This would be your background. Has a little bit of purple, a little bit of blue. Don't leave out colors like teal, because that would also work. Rocky Coast of Maine would work, or if you wanted a moon that was darker, it would work. We're looking for motion, so we're trying to get motion. A blue, besides all the dyed blues you may have, Fields of Blueberry with the hint of purple, especially if you're using purple in your silhouette or lavender in your silhouette. For a brighter background, we have Aurora, which has all the colors in it. So you may want to use the blue and pink and keep this for your moon. Last is Storybook Sky, which is a nice soft sky, but also has different grades of color, as it is a dip spot, so you can go from light to dark. So let's put some color combinations together. Some great color combinations that you can put together is this right here. We have Lake Shadow, we have Granite, and for the background, you could actually, if you wanted to pop the background, go with Storybook Sky. If you didn't want to pop the background, you could go with Kaleidoscope and keep it more of a tone on tone. Another way to go is if we wanted this nice, beautiful green moon for a harvest moon, we might pick Everything But the Kitchen Sink for our silhouette, and then we could really have a lot of fun with the background. We could make it a stormy background like this, or we could go with the purple blue background, and this would keep it all in textures but let it pop. This is a duller background against the moon, not as much contrast, would not show as much, and this has the most contrast. So this would also make a great set. If purple is your color, one of these could be the silhouette. This could definitely work for your background. And for your moon, you could do a cotton candy. So this would also work in your silhouette. As you can see, if you like a harvest moon and you wanted your browns, we're going to put the brown here. Then I'm going to go with my Amari for my moon. This is my silhouette, this is my moon, and then my background, it can go a million different ways, but I think I might like this to really pop it, which is Kaleidoscope. So this would be more of a harvest. If you wanted it deeper, this could be your background, your teal, your Amari Gold, and your brown. But you have to make sure where the silhouette is going to touch the background that it is distinct enough and doesn't fade in. Or you could also use Blueberry Fields. So these are just the endless color combinations you can come up with, and I'm sure more out of your stash. The blues, if you did blue, if you wanted to use all texture, here's After Midnight. Ash makes a great moon, and then for your background, you could use Prep School Plaid. So these are all different ways to put your silhouette together. Last one, mixing texture and dyed wool. Here is Old White, here is Kaleidoscope, Okay, so this is my moon, this is my background, and now I have to pick a silhouette. Well, I would probably pick After Midnight for that, or Inky, just like that. This is a little sharper, this blends more. So, let's talk about how to hook the silhouette after you've picked your colors. You can pick more than 3 colors, but if it's the first time you're hooking a silhouette, I would suggest that you stay within the 3 colors. It makes it easier, it makes it much nicer for you to hook it, and you'll achieve greater success with it. So, we're going to talk about how to hook a silhouette, which I go over in the article. And what I like to do is create a beveled edge. And this beveled edge is going to serve you not just within your silhouette, but with other pieces that you want something to stand up from. We have the moon, we have the girl, we have the grass now, and the tree. All of this will be done, except for the leaves, all of this will be done in your dark or light, whatever color you choose for your silhouette color. First thing you have to pay attention to is direction of hooking. Direction of hooking is key. So when you hook the skirt will come out and it will flow. We're not going to go around and echo it. We're going to come down, we're going to use it so that the skirt flows. Now, if you notice in here, particularly in here, there is a waistline. But we have to accent that waistline, so we may come in, make that a V, and come back out, which I will show you. Come in, make it a V, and come back out. Not only does it create the bodice and accentuate the bodice so the moon can come in, it actually creates more of a flow. Now, and down here, you're going to go this way at the bottom of the skirt with one line. Then when you hook her feet, because they're all the same color, it's a silhouette, you are going to hook this in an outline and fill. So direction of hooking is very key. Where this is also black or dark, and this is dark, you might want to pick a little highlight color or a piece of your texture to go right under here to delineate her feet. Okay? So how do we set up a quote-unquote beveled edge? Well, we're going to cut this into 2 sections. I'm using everything but the kitchen sink, so I have a 6 cut and I have a 4 cut. If you're going to do an 8 cut, your beveled edge would be a 6, but just as a warning, you will lose some of your detail. So the beveled edge in the 4, where I'm going to start is I'm going to start at the bodice. And I'm going to come right in here like this because I want to create a little bit of a V, and I'm going to come out. And I'm going to hook right on that line. And I am hooking right on the line in a 4 cut at the same size, at same height as a 4 cut. Now, what does that mean to those that haven't been hooking very long, or sometimes we do forget? When you hook a 4, it should be as high as your noodle is wide. And when I do that, it works perfectly. So I'm not hooking it to the height of my 6, which is what I will fill this in with. I am hooking it to the height of the 4. And when I hook it to the height of the 4, this is going to create the beveled edge. And there we are. Just like that. I'm going to come around a little bit, like that. Now, when I get ready to put my fill in, and don't forget to outline your leaf because you don't want to lose it, and we'll go over the leaves last because they're the little accent pieces that tell you what season and tell the viewer what season you are in. So now I'm going to fill in. Again, with everything but the kitchen sink. So I'm filling in with everything but the kitchen sink. And here we go. Just like that. And I'm hooking it a little bit higher. Okay? I'm hooking it a little bit higher. And so I have a lower edge, and then I have my number 6. And by doing that, we've created or emulated, so to speak, we have emulated the cut beveled edge of a silhouette. So when you're doing that, this works very well. And by doing it that way, if you notice I'm keeping with a linear, I'm not going round and round. I will leave a space for the leaf, and I'm coming up with it. Now this can be done in shades of red, it can be done in shades of green, whatever, shades of purple, shades of blue, whatever your favorite color is. But your darkest value in this is your silhouette. So here's my beveled edge for the silhouette. And now I don't have to bevel the edge to the moon. I've beveled the edge to the silhouette so that it does stand up. So now, if you want to see if your beveled edge is going to work, we're just going to put in a little bit of the moon and see what we get for the moon. So when I go to hook the moon, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come right in here, and I'm going to pull this up, and I'm going to hide my tail. I pulled my tail up, I'm going to pull it on one side, the loop, pull it on the other. And this happens to be a 6 cut, so I'm going to pull it as high as a 6. I'm going to come not too close, we don't want to pack. We're just going right next to it. This is not the place to pack for those that do pack. And there you are. So now you have your beveled edge. While it's not as apparent once you hook it in, once you hook the moon in, it is apparent in here and does create the silhouette. So you don't have to hook it lower. I will show you what happens when you do hook it lower. You do lose that beveled edge. So if I was to hook my size 6 as high as my 4, just like that, I lose my beveled edge. It's not as distinct. So when you start to put things next to your beveled edge, you hook them as high as the noodle you are hooking. And I'm going to hide my tail again because I know people are going to say, oh, I didn't get that. I'm pulling up my tail, I'm pulling a loop on this side, I'm pulling a loop on that side, and then when I cut it, my tail is hidden. But now I'm hooking as high as my noodle is wide, and my beveled edge is standing up. Okay, now where else am I going to use, and there's my tail that's hidden, now you can't see it. Now the silhouette is a little more distinct. So where am I going to put my beveled edge on this pattern? Well, when I get ready to do the moon, whatever color I choose to do the moon in, I am going to put an entire beveled edge here, here, all the way up and around the moon. So when I put the background next to it, I'm going to have a beveled edge to the background. All along the grass line, even though the grass line is wavy, I am going to do a wavy beveled edge. A wavy beveled edge all around the tree, on the trunk, but just on the trunk. When you get into here, you don't have to do a beveled edge. You would use probably your 4 cut, but you're going to hook the height of your 4 cut a little bit higher. Yes, you could sculpt these if you wanted, but by hooking them higher, they will stand out against your background. And then you have to make sure, and your background is the moon right here, so you have to make sure that you sneak your background all the way in, because right now that looks like a clump, just like that. It doesn't look like the tree. Well, if you take and you use your moon color, which we're going to do, we're going to put the moon color, I'm going to wedge this moon color right in there, and I'm going to come right up with it, and now all of a sudden that's distinct, and you can see that. So now what went from a blob has a distinction. Now, how are we going to hook the moon? We're not going to go around and around in a moon because it won't serve the purpose of an overall look. So we're going to break it up, as we've talked about before, into pieces. So you're actually going to draw in puzzle pieces in the moon, all across the moon. First, you're going to take your moon color and outline outside the line with your moon color so the leaves keep their shape. You've already done your silhouette, and then you're going to fill in. Now you can fill in as we talked about it, piggly wiggly, higgly wiggly, like that. But if you do pieces or echo the leaves a little bit and do pieces of it, it will look a lot nicer. Your background would be the last thing that you do. And the reason it's the last thing that you do is you have to make sure your background is going to pop your moon and your silhouette. So when you do that, you are going to draw in with your marker different puzzle pieces, as we've discussed in a previous video like that, and you're going to outline and fill your puzzle pieces all the way in. Now, you can do them in circles, you can do them in half moons, you can do them in any shape you want, but the idea is don't do them straight, don't do straight lines across, and don't just outline and fill and keep echoing into the middle. It will diminish your moon and diminish the work that you did on your silhouette. Now, some other hints on the silhouette: make sure that this fingertip, and the nose are done in true point style. So what is the true point style? Well, the true point style is where we make a very, very sharp point. So we want the point to be very sharp, okay? We want the point to be exceedingly sharp. So I'm going to start down here with my silhouette. I'm on the line, and I'm going to come here. I'm going to make a nice crisp line. Okay, and then when I get to that point, I'm going one above the finger and I'm pulling it up really tall. And then I'm coming back down. And it almost fills in the finger. And then we're going to come right back out here and we're going to fill in the point. Now you have to remember it looks rather large right now until you put the moon around it, and it will look a lot smaller, or to its true size, not smaller. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to pull that up really tall as well. I'm going to come back down, just like that. Come down, I'm on the line, coming down to here. Now, I'm going to take my scissors, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put that tall loop between my scissor blades and snip. And you can see how sharp that is. I'm also going to do that right here. I'm going to put it between my scissors, lay my scissors flat, and snip. And you can see how sharp that is. That's how you make your sharp points. You would also want to do that most likely in your leaves or any place you have a sharp point to keep it sharp. So when the moon comes up to it, it will be there and it will be as sharp a point as you can get. Let's talk about the hair. The hair is curly. This is a place you could add your yarn, okay? You could add yarn in there, or it's one of the times where you could embellish. And you could embellish the hair and put the hair in, if this is so small, with your Arctic rays. This is a time where the Arctic rays would emulate the hair, and you could mix it in a little bit with what your silhouette color is. Because this has a little bit of oomph to it, it's a little more distinct than just using yarn. So this is a good place for you to use your Arctic rays. The other Arctic rays where the other Arctic rays are that you can use is in your moon. If you're doing a whiter moon, a gray or cream moon, or even a little bit of blue, this actually hooks more like gray when you put it in. These can be added in, or they can be added into your sky. But they're added in last, as we've gone over before, because they are acrylic, and when you steam and press them, they will burn. Okay? I want to review the order of hooking a little bit, and then I'm going to show you some different rugs and that can be used with the silhouettes, the silhouette technique. So you're going to start with your silhouettes. You're going to put all your dark in first. By putting all your dark in first, you've set your silhouettes. You can see the distinction. You can set that up. Then you're going to go to your moon and put your moon in. Make sure your moon has motion. Make sure the silhouette is all in place where it needs to be. Then you go to your sky, and your sky is done in puzzle pieces. Your moon is done higgly wiggly or puzzle pieces. Then you're going to put in your leaves. Now with your leaves, you can pick fall leaves, green leaves, you can use yarn, you can use scraps of wool, anything you like. You can just hook them or you can sculpt them. And if you sculpt them, then they will stand up against your moon and be more dimensional, which is really something that is lovely and makes the moon more of a focal point. So by sculpting, you would actually get the leaves to look more dimensional. And also what I'm going to do real quick is hook a puzzle piece, because I did have questions about hooking puzzle pieces, and I'm going to hook a piece in as a puzzle piece. You do not have to draw them in if you do not want to. So I'm going to take this and I'm just going to hook a piece, and it can be any shape you so desire. It can come out to here, it can go around. If you notice I didn't start on the edge, you don't have to. And I'm just going to make a wild shape, just like this. Sometimes they look like things, sometimes they don't. And then I'm going to fill it in. So this is a puzzle piece. It's more of a half moon puzzle piece. It can be square, it can be a heart, it can be a spiral, but you're just going to fill it in, and that makes the puzzle piece. When you start your next puzzle piece, you would start right over here or right in here. And then it's a nice thing because when you sit down, if you hook in the evenings or the mornings, you say, I'm going to do 5 puzzle pieces, and then 10 puzzle pieces later, your background's almost done. So there's a puzzle piece to start with. There is no beginning, there is no end. You can't really see it, you just see the overall effect. This works well for texture as well as dyed wool. So that is seasons, that is the silhouette technique to make it look like a silhouette. But now I'm going to show you a few other places it can be used. This is our Woodland Santa that you've seen before with the fur. But I used a silhouette right here to set his Santa suit up. I did it in a darker color. I hooked it a tad lower. This is a 6 and an 8, and this is a 5. I could have gone to a 4, but I didn't. And I put another silhouette line over here, another silhouette line over here. I wanted him to stand up from his background, and I needed him to be distinct, especially his overall quote-unquote silhouette. So that is what I did. And then I hooked him, and then I hooked the background. And the background is hooked in puzzle pieces. As you can tell, I use spirals for the wool and hook that in the spirals. So this is when you're doing something that is tone on tone, or more of a blue on blue, red on red, green on green, whatever, and you need the main focus to stand up. This will allow you to have it to stand up. Going back to our shutter sitter, Charles, when we went over the plaid from December in our December video, and here is Charles's plaid scarf completely put in, so you can get a good view on how the plaid scarf looks completely hooked. Here is a line that I did. I had finished it in a white and I didn't like the line. So I used the silhouette technique here because he is going to be cut out. And I did use it up here as well. I did lower it from a 6 to a 5, and I hooked it at a beveled angle so that when I finish it, this way I have that little beveled edge to make him a little more dimensional, to make him a little more rounded. And the beveled edge works very well. I even put it down the bottom. And this way it's a good straight edge. It ends up nicely, and Charles will look more rounded. So it's a good way to achieve something that is a little more rounded. And for those that don't remember what sculpting is, Charles's buttons here, his charcoal or coal, is sculpted as well as here and here. Last but not least, from last time we looked at the skates. And a couple of you asked if there were other color combinations for the skates, and I did use a beveled edge in them as well. Here is a bright colored plaid for the skates. I used a pink and 2 values of purple, as you can see. So plaid can be hooked in a traditional plaid, or it can be hooked in any color combination you want. Minimum number of colors for the plaid from last month's video is 3. I used a beveled edge here. I cut it 1 lower and I changed the value. I used a beveled edge in here. I also used a beveled edge right there to separate the 2 skates. Obviously this is not done yet, but I wanted to show you, number 1, different colors for the plaid from last month's video and other uses for that beveled edge. So anytime you want a motif to be distinct against the background, or to look raised up from the background, that is where you would use that beveled edge. Or if you need to separate 2 things that are very similar in color and you need that separation, a beveled edge will create that separation. Also, to create a rounded edge, okay, it's particularly prominent here, to create that rounded edge and to create it to be round, that also is where you would use the silhouette technique. And then, of course, you can use it in every silhouette that you would like to hook. So I hope that this was helpful. You do have this magazine as your reference, as a written reference. This backs up the video, so with the 2, you should be creating silhouettes for quite some time. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope everybody is well, and I'll see you again next month. Thank you.